Hi, I'm Josephine Moon. Welcome to the hot seat. Today I have with me Western Australian author Josh Langley. Welcome, Josh.
Hi, Joy. Thank you so much for having me on.
So great to have you here. I'm excited to talk to you about your book, The Wonder Hunter. Can you tell us what it's all about?
Okay, I'm going to hold this book up. Okay, so how to be 100. This is my little book to get kids outside exploring the world around them and also inside exploring the world inside them, inside their imagination, inside their hearts. Because I know that with Generation Alpha at the moment, the primary school age kids, they are literally born with a device in their hand. And I know we can't change that. You can't take it away or anything like that. So how can we integrate more real world time with screen time? And I think it's easy for kids to be so reliant on screen time. That's how they're meeting friends. That's how they're playing games. That's all the chats and all that sort of stuff. They're watching YouTube videos left, right, and center, and unpacking boxes and all that sort of stuff. But what I want kids to do is to be able to, I suppose, bring in a bit of mindfulness, Joe, to be able to sit there and go, what's around me? What can I see that I wouldn't normally otherwise see? What can I smell? What can I hear? And really get them developing their senses to explore the world and do that in different places. You know, go down to the local park, go down to the beach, get the family going on a picnic and doing those sensory things. What can I see? What can I feel? And all that sort of stuff. And also using their imaginations, because with so much device use, like kids, they can just Google something and like they haven't been able to use their imagination or think or whatever. So I want them getting using their imagination, so they're using them more now. So as they get older, they're actually more familiar with going, okay, well, look, maybe I can imagine the life I want to live, as opposed to going, oh, life's so terrible, all that sort of stuff. So that's big hopes for how to be a wonder hunter, Troy.
Yeah, I love that. And I think so many parents will identify with that. I know I certainly do. And anyone I know, all of my friends who are parents, it's honestly, it comes up in pretty much every conversation we have is screen time, screen time, screen time, and
Mm.
how do you manage it and all of that. So we need as much help as we can get. So yeah, I'm glad you've written this book. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
When
Hope
was
it helps parents. Mm.
it helps parents?
I hope it does.
Yeah, it will. Absolutely. It will. When was the moment you knew that you wanted to be a writer?
I was only chatting about this the other day, and I never really set out to be a writer. I know a lot of people go, "Oh, when I was a kid, I wanted to grow up and be a famous writer." For me, no, I never had any intentions of being a writer. But there was the moment when I realized that I was a writer, and that was it was a couple of years ago. And I used to run a business on the side, radio copywriting. And I was sort of going, oh, how do I transition out of this? I really want to be a full-time writer. I want to make it as a writer in the world. And and I just had one of those light bulb moments. And I looked at my desk. On the left-hand side was a grant application that I was writing to filling out to try and get some money to do a writing project. And then I had a new book contract sitting on the right-hand side of my desk that I was ready to fill in. I was halfway through doing a book proposal for a new book I was writing. And I suddenly went, Josh, you silly Billy, you are actually a writer. You're actually doing all the writerly things. But I was so intent on going, being a writer's over here, I was actually missing the point. I was actually a writer already. And that was like, I just went, okay, thank you. Carry on as you were.
That's a beautiful story. I love that. I think we do. A lot of us have, yeah, trouble at seeing ourselves for, what we really are, and we do limit
Mm,
ourselves so much by how we think about ourselves. And I fit in that
yeah.
box, and maybe I'm not really into that box. I know for a really long time I could say that I was a writer, but I couldn't say I was an author
Yeah.
because
Okay.
in my head they were two different things, and I couldn't possibly be an author. I was, yeah. So it's funny. It's just funny how we box ourselves in like that.
Exactly. It's like, and we think that to be a writer, all with the we have to is just the actual physical writing of it, but it's all the things around that. It's sending invoices off. It's booking school visits. It's going to libraries and doing talks. It's filling in grant applications so you can do an internship or something. It's those sort of things that are the whole round thing that go around being a writer. that fill it in.
Yeah, absolutely. You're certainly embodying it right now. Like, I mean, look, us looking at you, you're surrounded by all your wonderful books there. When was the moment you knew you wanted to write this book, The Wonder Hunter?
It was about a year and a half ago, and because all my books, all my kids' books, I always write them for my 8-year-old self because I don't have kids myself. So I use my younger self as my sort of my muse. And I go, what would I? And as a kid, when I was like, I grew up in the 80s, Joe. So there was hardly any, all you had was TV and Pong or something, whatever was the computer game at the time. And so we were always outside. And we were always running around, we were playing street cricket, doing things, hanging out with friends, and I was always also using my imagination, writing lots of stories. And I wanted to I just thought, how can I draw that inspiration from my 8-year-old self and really let him? Because I used to get in trouble for daydreaming as a kid. Okay, my parents will go, "Get your head out of the clouds! Come on, Josh! You're not paying attention." And at school, I'll get told off by the teacher because I'll just stare out the window all day long, coming up with all these other ideas and then drawing pictures to go with it. And so I wanted to let my little 8-year-old self know that, okay, daydreaming was okay, because at the moment I actually make a living from daydreaming, from staring out the window and coming up with ideas. So I wanted to let him know that he was okay. And I thought, how can I extrapolate that out? And all the research that I've done about Generation Alpha and screen time and stuff, I thought, here's the perfect way to blend that and also to try and give these kids now a little bit of a taste of what it was like back in the 80s and the 70s when we had free-range kids. You can actually go explore and actually develop resilience by having to make friends down the street and actually work out the intricacies of friendships and all that sort of stuff, and building cubbies and all that sort of stuff. And so I wanted to get kids a little bit of taste of that now.
Yeah, absolutely. I wonder how long it took you to write the book and whether you have any particular rituals or things you need to do to get yourself in the space to write.
Okay, good question. It depends on what I'm writing. If I'm writing a kid's book, the process is completely different to if I'm writing a non-fiction book. So with the kids' books, I get the overall idea first, and then I've got to get it into my head first, get the whole concept. And then what I do is all my kids' books follow the same formula. So it has like an introductory few pages, and then it gets into the guts of the book, and then it sort of rounds it off at the end. And so I then write down the text in a Word document. And so I could go, okay, I just basically throw all the words that I want in there, that I go, okay, this is what I want to say. It's really badly written. I don't care. I'm going to put it in. So I've got a grid pattern. So on the left-hand side is the text, and on the right-hand side, I write a description of what the illustration could be. So as I go through and write the text, and I go, okay, as long as it follows that story, because all my books don't have storylines. Okay, I'm just talking to kids about what they need to know. So, and then I go, okay, what will the illustration be? And I may not have the idea for a couple of months. So it takes me a good, maybe 2 months to write the text. And then I'll spend the rest of the time thinking up what the illustrations are going to be. And then I'll do a sketch on a sketch pad of the illustration, and then I'll do it on the computer. And then I bring it all into a Word document. And then I'll put it together and have a rough idea of what it's going to look like. And then I look at it and I go, Josh, that's shit. Let's start again. Or I'll just go, I'll move that around, whatsoever. And then I send it off. Or actually, I'll go back. I send the text part off to the publisher and I write a book proposal. So this is what the book's about. This is what it's going to cover, yada, yada, yada. And I get their input first. And once they go, yeah, this is great, fantastic, then I put it together and then send it off to them again. And then we go back and forth until everyone's happy with it.
Yeah. And roughly how long does that whole process take?
It takes most probably from the first idea to when I send it off to them to maybe about 4 or 5 months. And then the rest of the time is spent at the printers and all that sort of jazz.
Yeah. And how do you want your readers, the children who are reading this book, how do you want them to feel when they get to the end of the book?
I want them to feel excited. I want them to feel as though there's a whole new world ready for them to explore. You know what it's like as a kid when when you're suddenly you're taken to somewhere brand new, and like an old house or somewhere or down the park, and you're seeing it for the first time. You see all this potential, and you want to go exploring. I want kids to feel that. At the end of the book, I get the kids to actually. I'll show you the page here. They actually get a a little Wonder Hunter ID badge. So they become an official Wonder Hunter. And so that's the idea, that they get excited. They can have, and I've actually had kids send me pictures, or the parents, where they've actually made the actual badges, the Wonder Hunter badge, and then they can put it on the thing and go, okay, let's go exploring. So I want that excitement for kids to have, so they can find something new.
What has there ever been a book that you've read and you thought, wow, I wish I'd written that book?
Lots of books. One of them comes to mind though. It's illustrated by my favorite kids author of all time, Maurice Sendak. So this is called Open House for Butterflies. Now it's written by Ruth Krauss. Now this is one of these whimsical, delightful little books that you read it as an adult, and I'm a bit different maybe, because I just sit and daydream, and I'm off with the fairies most of the time, and I love butterflies and flowers and things like that. But it's like, this is an example of the type of, I'm going to hold it up to the screen. I'm going to describe it. So Maurice Sendak has done a little illustration of a little boy sitting by a creek, and the text says, "Everybody should be quiet near a little stream and listen." And to me, that's so perfect. The wording's perfect, illustration's perfect. I wish I could have done something like that, because it's just brilliant. I love it.
Yeah, that looks like a beautiful book. I will go looking for that one too. It looks beautiful.
Yes, yeah. It's a few years old now, but it's wonderful.
Mm. If the Wonder Hunter could get turned into an animation on ABC, for example,
Yeah, got a contract? Let's do it.
who would you cast to do the voiceover? I assume. Yeah.
Look, I would love to have a little 2-minute vignettes, or maybe 5-minute vignettes, little clips. Get one of my books, and break them up, and then I think this is going to sound really strange, Joe, but to narrate them, even though I've got lots of different characters and stuff like that, but I think someone like Danny DeVito. I don't know why, because he's the same height as I am, because we're both short. But I think you can't take Danny DeVito seriously. And I think his voiceover on some of my characters and some of the books would just be hilarious. And I think it would just be cute as.
Yeah. Spoken like a child of the 80s. I was a child. He's got he's such a great character. Just a character player. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Fantastic. What are you currently reading at the moment?
What am I reading? I am reading, it's over there. What's it called? It's called The Art of A Field Guide to Getting Lost by Rebecca Solnit. Have you heard of that one?
No, what's it about?
It's a collection of essays that she's written, and about getting lost, about losing yourself, and about whether it's losing yourself in nature, or getting lost, or it's about losing identity and things like that. So it's a wonderful little meander through those concepts of what is it like to lose oneself physically and metaphorically. And I kind of like those ideas. And I've been feeling in a bit of a melancholy mood over the last week or so. And so it just suits it beautifully.
Yeah. And I think with technology these days, it's very hard to get lost. In fact, I talk about this in terms of writing contemporary fiction, which some people think is just so easy because you don't have to do, all this historical research and stuff. But it's actually quite hard because it's very hard to put someone in peril these days, because you can just pull out your phone and call an Uber.
Yeah.
You don't run out of food, really. I mean, obviously some people are in that situation, but you know what I mean? Like, it's just not, we don't have to get on ships and sail for 8 months to the other side of the world and maybe drown in the ocean on the way. Like, we just don't have the kind of peril around us all the time. So we don't get lost very often. Like, we don't have that chance to disappear or even disconnect from.
Exactly. Yeah.
I think it's very relevant.
Yeah, and I think it's important. It's an important thing to explore, because we build up these personalities and these identities, especially online.
Yeah.
And it's like we find they're so rigid and so we've got to adhere to them. But really we don't. And freedom is being able to get lost. Not get lost, Joe, but
Yes.
but in being lost or something
Yeah.
like that. Something to ponder anyway.
I think so. I think we could be talking for another hour easily on a lot of these things.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe we should do that again another time. But what are you working on right now?
Well, I've just today I sent off a manuscript to my publisher, and it's for a nonfiction book. It's loosely called, we're still going to work out the title, but 9 skills that could have the biggest difference in your child's life. So what it does, it outlines the key 9 skills that I would go back and tell my 8-year-old self that would improve his life as an adult, like, understanding and making friends with emotions, self-acceptance, the importance of creativity and imagination, being able to comfortable to talk about your feelings, feeling safe in that regard, daydreaming and wonder and curiosity, and the importance of play, free play. And so those sort of things I've outlined in this book. It's a book for parents, but it's not a parenting book, if that makes sense.
Yep.
So it doesn't deal with anything of the day-to-dayness of parenting, which I know can be so overwhelming for parents. As you said, whether you're talking about screen time, whether you're talking about what's happening, whether you got to, make the most important lunch for the kid to take to school, all that sort of stuff. It's trying to keep the bigger picture in mind. So that's what I've just sent the manuscript off at the moment, and I'm really nervous.
The nervous wait to see how it's
Yeah.
going to be received.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm fingers crossed.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for being here today. I've loved chatting to you. And thank you so much for your service to children's literature, because I think most people would know that, the books we read as kids do change us. They stay with us for life a lot of the time. So, well, they have the potential to anyway. Obviously, not every single book we read, but, everyone kind of looks back and goes, there were these key books out there that impacted me and changed me. And your book could well be one of those books. So thank you for your service.
Thank you, Joe. Thank you so much.
Thanks for being here.
Okay.
See you later.
See ya.